Have you ever wondered how family bonds can shift in times of crisis? In today's video, we delve into the poignant and surprising story of Haruko Yamada, an 80-year-old woman who found herself facing the heartbreaking reality of her family's dynamics as her husband's health declined. As she navigates the challenges of caring for him, the actions of her 4 sons reveal deeper truths about love, responsibility, and the weight of financial expectations. Stick around to discover how Haruko's journey not only highlights the complexities of familial relationships but also the emotional struggles that often go unnoticed. You'll learn how her fierce determination to protect her husband clashed with her son's self-interest, leading to an unexpected revelation that changed everything. This is more than just a story about an orange orchard. It's a reflection on the essence of family, the sacrifices we make, and the true meaning of support in times of need. Don't miss the critical moments that reveal the harsh realities many families face. This is a story that will resonate with anyone who has grappled with the challenge of caring for aging loved ones. Join us as we explore Haruko's story and uncover lessons that could change the way you view your family dynamics. Stay tuned until the end for insights that might just inspire you to reevaluate your relationships. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. In this deeply emotional and surprising narrative, we are introduced to the extraordinary Haruko Yamada, a remarkable 80-year-old woman whose life has taken an unexpected and poignant turn. Haruko finds herself in a heart-wrenching position, having to transfer her cherished orange orchard, an expansive 600 tsubo, approximately 1,980 square meters, to her 4 sons, a decision heavy with both necessity and profound sadness. The story of Haruko begins in the beautiful, lush landscape of Shikoku, Japan, where she and her husband settled after their marriage. It was a place where tradition and nature intertwined, creating a backdrop of serene beauty that mirrored the love they shared. Haruko and her husband were not just kind-hearted, they were a shining example of resilience and devotion. Together, they embarked on a journey filled with challenges, dreams, and a family that became their greatest treasure. Haruko welcomed 5 beautiful children into the world, 4 strong sons and a delightful youngest daughter, each one a testament to their love and commitment. Together, Haruko and her husband nurtured their children in a rural town, where they faced the initial hardships of living without modern conveniences. Their home was modest, and the land they settled on was devoid of facilities. Yet, it was a home filled with love and laughter. The community around them was rich with kindness, and it was through the unwavering support of their generous neighbors that Haruko and her husband were able to find work in agriculture, which eventually became the foundation for their family's future. With every seed planted and every harvest gathered, Haruko and her husband cultivated not just crops, but a deep sense of hope and determination. Their hard work gradually paid off as they saved money, allowing them to purchase a small plot of about 10 tsubo. Over the years, with grit and perseverance, this humble beginning blossomed into a sprawling 600 tsubo orange orchard, a vibrant symbol of their labor and love. This orchard was not merely a source of income, it became the lifeblood of the family, providing nourishment and security. Haruko and her husband took immense pride in the knowledge that through this orchard, they could raise their children, ensuring they had everything they needed: food on the table, access to education, and the opportunity for a brighter future. They celebrated their children's achievements with joy, from their university graduations to witnessing their marriages, each milestone a cherished memory etched in Haruko's heart. Yet, after years of relentless toil and sacrifice, a bittersweet realization began to settle over Haruko and her husband. As their children grew into capable adults, each carving out their unique paths in life, the couple watched with a mix of pride and nostalgia. The children, filled with dreams and aspirations, found jobs, settled down, and ultimately moved to the mainland, embarking on their journeys. While this independence filled Haruko's heart with joy, it also left her with a sense of emptiness. She envisioned a peaceful life with her husband, where they could enjoy the simple pleasures of their twilight years, holding hands, sharing stories, and listening to the soothing sounds of the ocean waves that had long been their constant companion. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. However, the tranquility of their lives shattered unexpectedly when, 2 years ago, Haruko's world was turned upside down. In a devastating turn of fate, her husband suffered a sudden and severe stroke, plunging her into a whirlwind of panic and despair. "Oh, how could this happen to us? What am I going to do? Someone, please help me," she cried out, her heart racing with fear and uncertainty. In her moment of desperation, she turned to her neighbors, who quickly came to her aid. It was a neighbor who called an ambulance, and Haruko rushed her husband to the hospital, her heart heavy with dread as she informed their 5 children of the alarming news. Each of them promised to come immediately, but the hours that followed were painfully long and filled with anticipation. One by one, her sons offered excuses, overbooked flights, work commitments, leaving Haruko to grapple with the heartbreaking reality that, despite their promises, they were absent when she needed them most. As she waited in the sterile, cold hospital room, the exhaustion began to weigh heavily on her. She remained vigilant by her husband's side, hoping for a miracle until fatigue finally overwhelmed her, and she drifted off to sleep. It was during this vulnerable moment that she felt a gentle touch on her shoulder. "Mom, wake up. I'm here," a familiar voice whispered in the darkness. It was her youngest daughter, the one who had always shared a special bond with Haruko. Instantly, a wave of relief washed over her, but it was quickly overshadowed by concern. "What happened? How is Dad?" she asked, fear and anxiety etched on her face. The response she received shattered her heart. "You're alone. Where are the other brothers?" Haruko's heart sank as she processed the painful truth of her son's absence, feeling an overwhelming wave of disappointment and sadness wash over her. Finally, her sons began to arrive, one after another, providing some relief, yet the anguish of the moment remained palpable, intensifying her sense of isolation. Tragically, despite their physical presence, her husband lay unconscious, and after a harrowing diagnosis, the doctors confirmed that he was brain dead. In that moment of crushing despair, Haruko was determined not to give up on the love of her life. Clinging to hope, she made the heart-wrenching decision to pursue life-sustaining treatment for him. However, her sons exhibited a troubling indifference, their attitudes reflecting a disturbing lack of empathy. They treated her desperate choices as inconveniences, suggesting that it was too much trouble and urging her to do as she saw fit. This blatant apathy pierced Haruko's heart like a dagger, deepening her feelings of abandonment and sorrow. Amid this turmoil, her youngest daughter, who had always been a beacon of support, felt the crushing weight of responsibility for her parents. She made the brave decision to quit her job, returning home to care for her father alongside Haruko. Together, they faced the stark reality that their sons had seemingly faded from their lives, their interactions dwindling to rare phone calls that were mostly initiated by Haruko. Her sons remained distant and preoccupied, their visits to the hospital becoming infrequent and perfunctory. "Next week is Dad's birthday. I thought we could all have a meal together," Haruko proposed, her heart full of hope that perhaps this special occasion would reunite the family. But her sons continually found excuses. With each declined invitation, Haruko's heart sank deeper into loneliness and frustration. "I know they're busy, and I should understand," she would tell herself, desperately trying to suppress her feelings of abandonment and anger. As time marched on, the hospital staff approached Haruko and her daughter to discuss the difficult decision of continuing life-sustaining treatment. Haruko's desire to keep her husband alive was fierce, an emotional anchor in the storm of her life. Yet, through the arduous nursing and emotional toll, Haruko herself had become quite weak. Watching her mother suffer was unbearable for her youngest daughter, who finally could no longer bear the pain of seeing her mother in such distress. "Mom, I understand how much you want to hold on, but you need to think about yourself too. Maybe it's time to let Dad go," her daughter gently suggested, her voice filled with compassion and understanding. That night, Haruko found herself unable to sleep, her mind racing as she stared at her husband's unresponsive face lying in the hospital bed, a stark reminder of the love and life they had shared. "I can't bear the thought of losing you. Without you, everything feels so meaningless. You are my heart, my life. If you leave, I will have nothing left," she whispered in her mind, tears streaming down her cheeks as she wrestled with the reality of her situation. Feeling the weight of her daughter's presence, Haruko quietly stepped out of the hospital room, covering her mouth to stifle her cries. She wept for hours, engulfed in a sorrow that felt too immense to bear, her heart aching for the companionship she feared she would lose forever. Haruko's story serves as a profound reminder of the fragility of life and the deep emotional ties that bind families together, even in the face of hardship and heartache. It reveals the depths of love, sacrifice, and despair that define a mother's heart, showcasing the stark reality of feeling abandoned by those she had devoted her life to nurturing. Ultimately, it is a poignant tale of love, loss, and the often painful journey of letting go, illuminating the resilience of the human spirit even amidst the most trying circumstances. As Haruko navigates this tumultuous chapter in her life, she embodies the strength and vulnerability that reside within all of us, urging us to cherish our loved ones and the moments we share. Sayuri, perhaps it's time we reach out to your brothers and have a heartfelt discussion together, Haruko suggested softly to her daughter, her voice trembling with a mixture of apprehension and a deep, almost desperate hope. The weight of the moment pressed heavily on her chest as if the very air in the room had thickened with unspoken fears and unending sorrow. Sayuri, feeling the gravity of their situation, nodded and quickly picked up her phone, dialing her brothers with urgency. She urged them to come together to talk about their father's life-sustaining treatment, a matter that loomed over their family like a dark cloud threatening rain. In a surprising turn of events, her sons, who typically found a plethora of excuses to avoid serious conversations, arrived at the hospital with an unusual sense of urgency. The atmosphere was charged with unspoken tension, the sterile scent of antiseptic in the air mingling with the palpable dread of what lay ahead. As they gathered in the small hospital room, Haruko felt her heart pound in her chest, each beat echoing the weight of her emotions. Taking a deep breath, Haruko addressed her sons, her heart heavy with the gravity of their situation. "What do you think we should do?" she asked, her voice quaking slightly as she fought back tears. "If we continue with the life-sustaining treatment, the hospital costs will only escalate. Dad, he won't wake up again. I can't help but feel that it seems pointless to keep throwing money into a situation that feels so hopeless. Perhaps we should consider signing the documents to refuse life-sustaining treatment tomorrow." Her words hung in the air, heavy with sadness, as they all grappled with the reality of their father's condition. One of her sons, whose pragmatic nature often overshadowed his sensitivity, interjected with an unsettling calmness. "And what about the orange orchard, Mom? You've poured your heart and soul into that place, nurturing it with love and care, working tirelessly day in and day out. Sayuri has already been struggling to care for Dad with her demanding job, often sacrificing her well-being for his sake. Wouldn't it be kinder for all of us if we signed those documents tomorrow and finally found some peace? You're getting older, Mom. Next year when you turn 80, you won't be able to keep this up. It's time to let go, not just of Dad, but of the orchard too." His tone was devoid of the warmth one might expect in such a painful moment, and it sent a chill down Haruko's spine. Another son, mirroring the sentiment of practicality but with a sharper edge, chimed in, "Exactly, Mom. It's vital to move forward and embrace life. If you're consumed with worry for Dad, it will wear everyone down. Even if you manage to get help, the orchard will become an insurmountable burden without Dad's presence. It's better to release the orchard and allow Dad to depart peacefully, to transition without being weighed down by these earthly concerns." Their words felt harsh and unyielding, as if they were negotiating the terms of a business deal rather than discussing the impending loss of a beloved family member. As her sons spoke, Haruko felt an overwhelming wave of sadness wash over her. It became painfully clear that their focus was less on their father's well-being and more on the fate of the orchard, a symbol of their legacy and potential wealth. She sensed the callousness in their attitudes, as if they were viewing this profound moment through a lens of financial gain rather than familial love. Haruko's heart sank further at the realization that her sons, in their desperation to secure their future, had seemingly lost sight of the emotional bond that should have been at the forefront of their minds. Overwhelmed by their demeanor, she found herself lost in confusion, struggling to process the reality of what was unfolding. Ultimately, her heart heavy and filled with sorrow, she made the gut-wrenching decision to sign the documents to refuse life-sustaining treatment for her beloved husband. It was a choice that felt like a betrayal, yet the alternative seemed even more unbearable. The following day, as she sat beside him, her heart shattered at the thought of never seeing his warm smile or hearing his comforting voice again. She held his arms tightly, feeling the frailness of his body beneath her fingers, and allowed herself to drift into a deep, exhausted sleep. In that stillness, she felt as though he was watching over her, lying there with eyes closed, yet his heart might have been screaming, "Ah, I can't believe it's ending like this. I can't endure this suffering anymore." The weight of betrayal from their sons, the realization that she was losing the love of her life, was too much for him to bear. Unable to witness her pain, he chose to embark on an eternal journey that night, leaving Haruko in a fog of loneliness and despair. During the funeral, Haruko found herself engulfed in a suffocating silence, surrounded by the whispers of grief and the murmurs of family. Yet amidst the somber atmosphere, her sons busied themselves with phone calls. Their conversations focused solely on their own needs and concerns, even as they mourned the loss of their father. It felt like a betrayal to Haruko, as though their father's death had become an inconvenient interruption to their daily lives. After the funeral, they reconvened at Haruko's home, yet before stepping inside, they gathered in the yard for yet another discussion, oblivious to the emotional turmoil swirling within her. "Big brother, what's our plan here?" "I need to send money to my wife," one son said, desperation creeping into his voice, a hint of frustration evident in his tone. "What are we going to do? It's already been decided, hasn't it? Everyone is struggling financially. I'm having my battles too." I spoke to some real estate agents, and they mentioned the orange orchard has significant value. Just a while back, someone sold a similar one for a staggering 1 billion yen. "So let's not have any complaints later," another son added, his eyes gleaming with a glimmer of ambition rather than sorrow. Their words pierced Haruko's heart, each syllable deepening her sense of betrayal and loss. It was as if their father's memory was being reduced to mere numbers and financial gain, stripping away the love and respect she felt should accompany such a profound loss. The pain of her sons' focus on the orchard rather than their father's legacy left her questioning the very essence of family and love in the face of tragedy. At that moment, as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the yard, Haruko realized that the true legacy of her husband would be the love they had shared, not the orange orchard or the monetary value it held. But she feared that, for her sons, love had become overshadowed by the allure of wealth, leaving her to navigate the treacherous waters of grief and disappointment alone. As they stepped through the threshold of their childhood home, a heavy silence enveloped the air, pregnant with unspoken tensions and lingering sorrow. The brothers wasted no time, immediately driving their youngest sister, Sayuri, outside with a dismissive wave, leaving her feeling isolated and bewildered. "Go buy us some drinks," they instructed her, their tone casual and commanding, as if she were nothing more than a servant. Sayuri's heart sank, a mix of indignation and hurt welling up inside her as she stood there, watching them gather in their mother's room, a place once filled with warmth and laughter, now transformed into a battleground of greed and resentment. Once outside, Sayuri found herself alone in the garden, where memories of happier times flooded her mind, the laughter shared under the orange trees, the sweet smell of blossoms in the air, and the comforting embrace of family. It felt surreal to be cast aside in such a callous manner, her brothers' voices drifting in and out as they began to speak to their mother, Haruko. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. "Mom," one of the sons began, his voice a dispassionate drone, "we've been discussing matters among ourselves, and we've come to a decision. We've never truly done anything meaningful with the orange orchard, and none of us have any intention of farming this land in the future. Besides, it wouldn't be fair to simply leave everything to Sayuri, would it? We think it's best for all involved if we sell the land and split the profits among ourselves. You should take it easy now, Mom. You won't have to worry about spending large sums of money anymore. After all, you don't need it, do you? And let's be honest, once you pass away, we'll inherit the money anyway. So, it's better for you to just hand over the orchard to us now, for the sake of everyone involved. The second son, a tone of feigned urgency lacing his words, chimed in, "Yes, Mom, we all have our own families to support, and life has been incredibly tough for each of us. You know how hard it is to make ends meet these days. Being a father is not just difficult, it's downright exhausting. We are all struggling to keep our heads above water. Please, Mom, you have to understand our situation. You don't need that money anymore since you're older now, but we could use your help during this difficult time. It would mean so much to us if you could assist us." As these words sank in, Haruko felt a surge of rage and disbelief course through her veins. Anger gripped her heart, making her tremble with a potent mix of indignation and sorrow. "What? How can you all talk about money only a few days after your father has passed away?" Her voice cracked with emotion, the weight of grief heavy on her chest. "You weren't even here to support him while he was in the hospital. Do you honestly think I was saving that money for you? How could you even say such things?" With each accusation, the reality of her son's betrayal cut deeper. "Do you have any idea how much your father sacrificed for you all? Do you remember how hard he worked day in and day out to provide for this family?" She continued, her gaze fierce, as she locked eyes with each of them in turn. "Eldest son, you've failed in your business endeavors time and time again. With every new venture, you dragged your father into the mess, and he always came through for you, repaying your debts as if they were his own. Second son, you used your father's money to buy a company, and while you enjoyed lavish trips abroad with your wife, do you think we didn't notice? You lived the high life while he worked himself to the bone for you." As her voice rose, so did her anger, pouring out all the hurt and disappointment that had built up over the years. "And you, third son, you've taken money from your father repeatedly under the guise of providing for your granddaughter. I know that your wife pressured you to send money to America while you feigned poverty here. Fourth son, you've been reckless, gambling, and making poor investment decisions that have left you drowning in debt. Each time, your father and I had to step in to cover for you, and I had to beg you to stop before you destroyed yourself. You even suggested resorting to loan sharks and using your own body as collateral. I warned you again and again, but you chose to ignore me, putting your life on the line as if it were some game." Haruko's voice wavered as the pain of her reality washed over her, each word steeped in a lifetime of disappointment, heartbreak, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. How could her sons, whom she had nurtured with such care and love, so easily turn their backs on the values of family, respect, and compassion? At that moment, the weight of their greed hung heavy in the air, a stark reminder of what had become of the family she once cherished. Would they ever understand the true meaning of love and sacrifice? Would they ever see the damage they were doing to the bonds that held them together? As Haruko knelt there, tears cascading down her cheeks like a torrential downpour, her heart felt as if it were being crushed under the weight of the emotional turmoil surrounding her. The room, once a sanctuary of family warmth, had transformed into a battlefield of accusations and hurt feelings, and her sons, the very flesh of her flesh, had turned against one another with a fierce intensity that left her breathless. For a brief moment, they fell silent, caught in the gravity of their mother's despair. But that silence was short-lived, quickly replaced by an explosive clash of voices, each son fueled by anger and betrayal, as they began to argue passionately among themselves about the money they had received, their voices rising and falling like a chaotic symphony of discontent. "Look at this," one of them erupted, his face flushed with indignation and frustration. Everyone was secretly pocketing money behind the scenes, weren't they? What kind of a twisted game is this? You've pretended to be oblivious while you've been siphoning funds through your reckless business ventures and those wild gambling escapades. And now, you expect us to split it all equally? That's an absolute joke. I cannot and will not accept that. I poured my heart and soul into using that money for my daughter's tuition, sacrificing so much to ensure she had a better future. While you squandered it on failing companies and luxurious trips abroad that ended in disaster. Are you out of your mind? You've thrown your money into the chaotic abyss of cryptocurrency trading, and then turned to gambling, losing everything in the process. How can you expect us to just hand over money to you like this? What do you mean I drained money? Look at yourself and your choices. In a fit of rage, another son shot back, his voice laced with venomous anger. You're just as guilty as the rest of us. Everyone was receiving money, so why are you singling me out? You have absolutely no right to point fingers at me. Sure, you used the funds for your daughter's education, but what about your interests? You're all the same. I won't give you any more money like this. It's outrageous. As the heated arguments erupted around her, Haruko felt a profound ache of despair clawing at her heart, the relentless bickering of her sons overwhelming her senses. Each cutting word seemed to strike her like a dagger, amplifying her feelings of betrayal and loss. What are you doing, you hopeless fools? Enough is enough, she finally cried, her voice breaking under the strain of her emotions, unable to contain her frustration any longer. In a moment of sheer desperation, she reached into her drawer and, with trembling hands, threw something at her sons with a force that mirrored her anguish and heartache. "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" she shouted, her voice trembling with raw emotion. "The land deed to the orange orchard. Take it and do whatever you wish with it. But don't ever come begging me for money again. And for heaven's sake, don't show your faces to me anymore." The words spilled from her mouth like a dam breaking, and at that moment, she felt an overwhelming mix of anger and sorrow coursing through her veins, a potent reminder of how far her family had fallen apart. With that, Haruko turned her back on them, her heart heavy with the unbearable weight of her decision. As she walked away, the coldness of her dismissal hung in the air like a bitter chill, an emotional barrier now solidified between them. She had given her sons what they desired but lost so much more in the process. "I can't see you as my brothers anymore," she thought, the realization washing over her like a wave of grief. The bond they once shared had been irrevocably shattered, leaving her feeling more alone than ever, as if she had been cast adrift in an unforgiving sea of familial discord. Each step she took away from them felt like a piece of her heart breaking off, leaving her feeling not only abandoned but utterly heartbroken by the harsh reality of their fractured relationship. Sayuri, the youngest daughter in the family, found herself in a poignant moment that would irrevocably alter the course of her life. As she nestled in the living room, the air was thick with the echoes of her brother's laughter, their carefree banter a stark contrast to the heavy feelings brewing within her. It was as if a storm was brewing just beneath the surface, and Sayuri felt an overwhelming urge to speak up. Unable to suppress her emotions any longer, she mustered the courage to confront them, her heart pounding with a mix of frustration and determination as she made her way toward the room where the conversation was unfolding. However, just as she took her first step, her mother, Haruko, with a grace that radiated both strength and kindness, gently intercepted her. "Sayuri, it's okay," she whispered, her voice soft yet firm, like a warm embrace. "You don't need to do anything right now. After your brothers leave, I have something very special to share with you." Once her brothers finally departed, the tension that had filled the house dissipated like mist in the morning sun, leaving behind a calm stillness that enveloped mother and daughter. Haruko took a deep, steadying breath, the weight of her years evident in the lines of her face. She settled onto the couch beside Sayuri, her eyes glistening with unspoken emotions, and handed her an envelope with trembling hands. "Take this," she urged, her voice quivering with a mix of love and anxiety. It's something your father left for you. He wanted to make sure it was given to you properly. Although you haven't seen it yet, he insisted you should be the first to know." The very act of passing the envelope felt monumental, a silent exchange of trust and intimacy that made Sayuri's heart swell with anticipation. As she delicately opened the envelope, a flood of emotions washed over her. Nervousness, excitement, and an inexplicable sense of connection to her father, whom she had missed deeply. Inside lay a handwritten letter, the paper slightly worn but filled with the unmistakable warmth of her father's words. As Sayuri unfolded the letter, her heart raced, each word a lifeline that pulled her back to a moment in time she had yearned for. "Dear Sayuri, this is the first time I'm writing to you, and I feel a bit shy," the letter began, instantly resonating with her. The sincerity in those opening lines was almost palpable, as if her father were sitting right next to her, sharing his thoughts in a quiet, intimate moment. "Today, while working in the orange orchard, I suddenly thought of you and returned home to write this letter." She could almost picture him, dust-covered and weary, taking a moment from his labor to reach out to her spirit. As she continued to read, the words painted vivid images in her mind, invoking emotions she had kept tucked away. "Mom is getting old, and the orchard work has become tough," he wrote, his honesty striking a chord within her. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air, a reminder of the passage of time and the fragility of life. "I don't know how long I'll live, but I want to spend my remaining days peacefully traveling together with her." Sayuri felt a swell of emotions. Love, sorrow, and an urgent need to honor her father's wishes filled her heart. His acknowledgement of her brothers as a bit troublesome made her chuckle softly through her tears, even as she felt the sadness of unfulfilled potential for their family. "But no matter how difficult they are our precious children, so I couldn't abandon them," he wrote, a sentiment that resonated with the struggle of a parent's heart. "However, because of that, I couldn't pay enough attention to you." Those words struck a raw nerve, bringing forth a cascade of tears that blurred her vision. Throughout her life, Sayuri had often felt like the overlooked child, the one who thrived in the shadows of her brothers' vibrant personalities. But to hear her father express both pride and regret filled her with a profound mix of emotions. Pride for her resilience and regret for the moments they had lost. "I secretly opened a small house and a bank account in your name," he revealed, and Sayuri's heart raced as she processed this unexpected gift. "The account has a small amount of money in it." As she continued reading, she felt a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. "It pains me to say this, but if your mother is left alone, please support her a little. If you feel burdened and your heart heavy, please forgive me, your father." These lines were imbued with a weight of responsibility that settled heavily on her shoulders. "I've always been worried about your mother," he expressed, his love wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. "Dear Sayuri, I pray that many good things will continue to come into your life." If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. With tears streaming down her face, Sayuri clutched the letter to her chest, overwhelmed by the depth of her father's love and the magnitude of what he was entrusted to her. Inside the envelope, she discovered a staggering 50 million yen, a fortune that felt surreal yet urgent, alongside the deed to the house where her mother had lived. The enormity of her father's love enveloped her like a warm embrace, intertwining sorrow with an indomitable resolve. At that moment, she made a silent vow to honor her father's wishes and care for her mother with every ounce of her being. This wasn't merely a duty, it was a heartfelt commitment born from a profound sense of compassion and love. As Sayuri reflected on her brother's actions and their increasingly selfish behaviors, a wave of disappointment surged through her. She began to question the purpose of raising children, wondering if it truly brought joy or merely served as a source of heartache. Her mother, Haruko, sensing the emotional burden resting on Sayuri's shoulders, repeatedly expressed her concern. "You don't have to take care of me, Sayuri. You can live your life freely. Please, let's not live together," she would say, her voice filled with an urgency that tugged at Sayuri's heartstrings. Yet, with unwavering determination, Sayuri gently but firmly refused her mother's offers of independence. "I want to take care of you, Mom. I will do my best to support you," she said, her voice steady and filled with an earnest resolve. Thus began a new chapter in their lives, one filled with challenges yet illuminated by the promise of shared love and understanding. Haruko moved into the new house with Sayuri, and as they settled into their shared space, a deep bond blossomed between them, an unbreakable connection forged in the fires of love, sacrifice, and the undeniable strength of family. Together, they embarked on this journey, hand in hand, heart to heart, creating a sanctuary of warmth and understanding. In the new home, with walls that whispered stories of the past and dreams of the future, Sayuri and her mother found solace in each other, weaving a tapestry of memories and forging a path filled with hope and compassion, a testament to the enduring power of love. As we conclude this heartfelt journey of Sayuri and her mother, we reflect on the profound themes of love, responsibility, and the strength of family bonds that resonate throughout their story. It's a powerful reminder of how we can find purpose in caring for our loved ones, even in the face of life's challenges. So, what have you learned from Sayuri's experience? We would love to hear from you. Please take a moment to share one lesson that has inspired you and that you plan to implement in your own life. Your insights could encourage others who are navigating similar journeys. If you like this video, please leave your comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more uplifting content. Thank you for being a part of our community.